All right. I know that none of you came here tonight to hear me give a speech, so I'll be brief. Former vice chancellors and deans on the podium. It's common at events like this to remind the students that today we are engaging in something called commencement, which represents the idea of beginning. I'm sure it seems odd to some of you that we use this word at a graduation ceremony. Perhaps we should use a word that represents finishing. After all, you just finished a lot of hard work. Perhaps we should use a word like culmination or conclusion, or from a Netflix perspective, series finale. To stick with the Netflix metaphor a bit, I'm reminded about how I feel when I myself reach the end of a series finale. I start casting about, looking for that next great series, pestering friends about what they're watching, what they're going to do, what they've done, or just Googling the next best thing. If you're like me, there's a bit of a mourning period if you're watching a series and you're approaching the end of that series because you're worried about what's next, what's in front of us. Will it be just as good as what you just had? In fact, I feel like I've accomplished something by finishing the series, but I know that I will miss Pam and Jim and Creed and Dwight and all those friends in the office. There is comfort in sticking with what you know, and which probably explains why I've watched The Office about 30 times now. So there you sit, each of you, justifiably proud of what you've accomplished in the past 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 years, and we're also very proud of your efforts. But this is also a time not just to look back and congratulate ourselves on what we've accomplished, but also to look forward. And we're also looking forward with you. If it has not happened already, I guarantee that someone in the next 2 days will ask you what's going to happen to you after graduation. What are your plans? I remember asking one of my students that very question several years ago. I saw her in the back of the room before we went into the ceremony, and I said, "What are you doing after graduation?" And she said, "Me and my family are going to Outback." And I was thinking longer than that, right after graduation. That was her story. Now, she was my student, so I'll take credit for her bad grammar, but she hadn't thought much about what was happening to her like on Monday, and so I asked her about that. She said, "Monday I start looking for a job." And so I've thought about her a lot ever since then, whenever I go to a graduation ceremony, about that young lady who had definite plans that lasted about an hour after graduation. But many of you are sitting there thinking to yourself, here's what I've done, but here's what I'm about to do. And maybe there's some fear and there's some dread. And it's my hope that as you sit there, that you know that A-State has prepared you to find your way when you leave campus tonight. And I don't mean find your way to Outback, although that's a great idea. I'm nothing against Outback. While you learn certain facts and theories about how the world around us works, I hope that you also learned other lessons that will challenge you to the end of your days. I especially hope that you learned how to learn and how to think critically about our world, because it's changing so rapidly that you need to be prepared to change along with it. I also hope that we have helped foster the love of learning behind memorizing for a test, but a love for learning for its own sake. Our lives are all richer when we grow and evolve. Finally, I hope that we've instilled in you a passion for others who are less fortunate than we are. In the past year, you and I have had many conversations about the pact and taking care of each other, and about how the strength of the red wolf is the pack and how the strength of the pack is the red wolf. We are all nobler beings when we push aside self-interest and stand for others who cannot stand for themselves. Knowing many of you as I do, I am encouraged about the future of our region, of our state, our country, and of our world. Godspeed, Red Wolves, and good luck. Thank you.